Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that every vehicle on Earth had vanished overnight. No cars, no trains, no bicycles, not even a dirt road to follow. Now imagine walking thousands of miles, carrying everything your family owns on your own back. That wasn't a nightmare. That was normal for nearly every human who ever lived. For hundreds of thousands of years, the fastest transportation technology humanity possessed was simply putting one foot in front of the other. And somehow, that was enough to conquer an entire planet. If you challenged a horse to a sprint, you would lose. Challenge an eagle to fly, and the contest is over before it begins. Humans were never designed to be the fastest animal on Earth. Instead, evolution invested in something much stranger. Endurance. Your body is less like a race car, and more like a machine built to run all day without breaking down. Every step quietly recycles energy instead of wasting it. The arches in your feet act like tiny natural springs, helping every stride cost a little less effort. Behind your ankle, a thick tendon stores energy like a stretched rubber band, then releases it with every step. And while most large animals struggle to cool themselves, humans carry millions of tiny sweat glands working like built-in air conditioning. That's why our ancestors could keep moving long after stronger animals were forced to stop and rest. Speed wins a race. But endurance can change history. Around 70,000 years ago, something extraordinary began. Small groups of humans slowly stepped beyond the lands their ancestors had known for countless generations. There was no grand expedition, no leader holding a map. Just one family moving a little farther than the last. One valley became two. Two became 10. Then, without anyone planning it, an entire species began spreading across continents. Imagine exploring a world where every hill could hide food or danger. Every sunrise revealed land no human in your family had ever seen before. Generation after generation kept moving, not because they knew what was ahead, but because survival demanded it. Eventually they crossed grasslands, climbed mountain passes, and followed rivers into entirely new climates. Some groups headed west into unfamiliar forests. Others moved east toward endless coastlines. Thousands of years later, their descendants would reach Europe, northern Asia, and eventually the frozen edge of the Americas. Without realizing it, they were drawing the very first map of the human world, one footprint at a time. Here's the surprising part. Ancient people weren't simply wandering into the unknown. Many already knew where they wanted to go. Stories traveled farther than people ever could. One conversation around a campfire could guide the next generation hundreds of miles away. Someone knew where sharp black volcanic stone could be found. Someone else remembered a valley filled with wild fruit every summer. Knowledge became the world's first navigation system. Archaeologists have discovered volcanic glass hundreds of miles from the volcanoes where it formed. Seashells have appeared deep inland. Rare stones crossed mountain ranges. Valuable materials quietly moved from group to group. There were no markets, no money. Yet ideas and resources were already flowing across enormous distances. Long before the first city existed, invisible highways already connected countless communities. But eventually, every trail led to the same obstacle: water. A mountain could be climbed. A forest could be crossed. But a wide river could end an entire journey. For thousands of generations, rivers were nature's checkpoints. If you couldn't cross them, your journey simply ended there. Swimming wasn't a real solution. Cold currents, hidden rocks, and predators could turn one mistake into the last decision you ever made. Then one day, someone noticed something incredibly simple. A fallen tree didn't sink. That tiny observation may have changed the future of our entire species. Nobody invented the first raft in a workshop. Nature built the prototype first. Humans simply learned from what the river had been demonstrating all along. Soon, floating logs became tied bundles of wood. Bundles became simple rafts. Every attempt floated a little farther. Crossing water stopped being an accident and became a skill. Once that happened, rivers were no longer walls. They became highways. But humanity wasn't satisfied with crossing rivers. The greatest challenge was still waiting beyond the shoreline. Crossing a river takes courage. Crossing an ocean takes faith. Today, you can check a map before leaving home. Ancient explorers couldn't even prove another shore existed. The sea offered no footprints to follow, no landmarks, and no second chances. Yet archaeological discoveries tell us that humans somehow reached islands separated by open water tens of thousands of years ago. That means somebody built something capable of floating far beyond the safety of land. Imagine pushing away from the shore while the only thing ahead is empty blue. No compass, no telescope, no rescue team waiting if everything went wrong. Every stroke of the paddle carried an entire family's future. Some voyages probably failed. Others changed history forever. With every successful landing, the human world quietly became a little bigger. Finding land is easy when you can already see it. Finding an island hidden beyond the horizon is something else entirely. Thousands of years ago, skilled Pacific navigators regularly sailed to islands they couldn't even see. They weren't guessing. They were reading an invisible language written across the sea. The stars became their compass long before anyone built one. The rhythm of ocean swells revealed winds blowing from places far beyond sight. Birds told them when land was close, because some species always returned home before sunset. Even clouds gave away hidden islands by forming differently above forests and mountains. What looked like empty ocean to everyone else was filled with clues. Generation after generation, this knowledge was memorized instead of written. Without books, without instruments, and without satellites, they mastered one of the greatest navigation systems humanity has ever created. Reaching distant places solved one problem. Bringing everything home created another. A person could walk for miles. But muscles had limits. The bigger the hunt, the harder it became to move the reward. So people stopped asking how to become stronger, and started asking how to become smarter. One simple trick changed everything. Instead of carrying heavy objects, drag them. Dragging wasn't elegant, but it worked. Then someone lifted one end off the ground with two long poles. Today we call that design a travois. It spread the weight across the ground instead of your shoulders. Without inventing a single wheel, one person could suddenly move far more than before. It wasn't the final answer, but it proved an important lesson. Intelligence could multiply strength. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans carried the world on their own backs. Then, everything changed when another species joined the journey. The first animal to transform transportation wasn't the horse. It was the dog. At first, dogs guarded camps and helped hunters. Soon, they began pulling supplies across snow and frozen ground. For the first time, a family's belongings could travel without exhausting the people who owned them. But one animal would reshape human history more dramatically than any other. The horse wasn't just faster than a person. It completely changed the meaning of distance. Trips that once demanded weeks could suddenly be completed in days. News spread faster. Traders reached farther. Entire civilizations suddenly felt much closer together. Different lands found different partners. Camels crossed deserts. Reindeer conquered the Arctic. Llamas climbed the Andes. Human intelligence never replaced nature. It learned how to work with it. Ask someone to name history's greatest transportation invention, and most people will probably say, the wheel. But history tells a much stranger story. Humans crossed open seas long before anyone built a wagon. They domesticated horses before they ever rolled cargo on wheels. The earliest wheels weren't built for transportation at all. They helped people shape clay into bowls, jars, and storage containers. Then someone looked at that spinning circle and imagined something revolutionary. What if the wheel didn't spin beneath your hands, but beneath your cargo? That single idea would eventually transform trade, farming, construction, and warfare. The wheel didn't invent transportation. It multiplied everything transportation could already do. By now, humanity had assembled something remarkable. Legs, boats, animals, wheels. Each invention solved a different problem. Walking opened continents. Boats connected islands. Animals carried impossible loads. Wheels multiplied the power of every journey. Together, they created something that had never existed before: connected civilizations. Trade expanded. Languages spread. New ideas traveled farther than ever before. Every empire, every kingdom, and every great city depended on the simple ability to move people and supplies. Without transportation, civilization could never have grown beyond scattered camps. The greatest transportation breakthrough wasn't a single invention. It was thousands of small ideas built on top of one another across countless generations. Every traveler inherited the discoveries of someone who had dared to go a little farther. Today, you can cross continents in hours without giving the journey a second thought. But every highway, every airport, every railway, and every shipping lane exists because long ago, someone looked beyond the horizon and decided to keep walking.